Hello viewers, welcome to the course on Economics and Law Part 1. This module provides a brief overview of the concept of economic analysis of consumer theory. In this introductory chapter, we will explore how economic principles guide consumer choices and how these decisions affect the whole economy. The main objectives of the module are to understand the concept of consumer theory, to learn about economic analysis of consumer theory. Let us start to stimulate your interest in the economic analysis of consumer behavior. Let us begin with the following scenario. Imagine walking into your favorite store with the intention of buying a new laptop. As you proceed, an array of options are available for you, each with distinct features, brands, and price ranges. The decision you make not only affects your personal satisfaction, but also has an impact on the overall economy. Now, let us think about the following questions. Why do you pick a particular product over another when taking your preferences, spending limit, and perceived value into account? How do the decisions you make on an individual basis, along with those of millions of other consumers, affect the overall state of the economy? Were you aware that the choices you made to purchase that laptop is a small part of the intricate relationships that exist between the consumers, businesses, and the overall economic situation? In addition to being a personal one, the study of these choices and their economic implications is what we call the economic analysis of consumer behavior. This intriguing field explores the psychology of decision making, the factors influencing your preferences, and the macroeconomic effects of millions of people making similar decisions on a daily basis. Now, let's move further to solve the puzzles of why we purchase the things that we do, how companies cater to our needs, and their impact on the global economy. Consumer behavior is subject to economic analysis, which goes beyond simple shopping to include understanding the dynamics of economies and the intricate connections that exist between the people and the worldwide economy. Introduction to consumer theory. Consumer theory is a branch of microeconomics that analyzes how people decide on things about spending their money to maximize their satisfaction or utility. This theory delves into the preferences, choices, and behaviors of consumers in the marketplace. Consumer theory is a fundamental concept in economics, serving as the foundation for knowing how people make choices about what to buy and consume. This theory plays a crucial role in various fields, including law and economics, because it sheds light on consumer behavior and the implications for market outcomes, public policy, and legal frameworks. However, we begin by thinking about the ramifications of a hypothesis that holds that customers make decisions based on what would make them the happiest rather than on errors. Economists are studying various types of issues and comparing this method. Some examples include My intention was to buy shampoo, but then I forgot and bought soap. This is an issue of a memory problem. This shampoo is not as good as I had thought, an issue of a learning problem. I intended to purchase shampoo, but I ended up buying a bottle that had leaked, an issue of self-control. Each of these types of errors gives rise to unique hypotheses. Furthermore, by first grasping the fundamental theory, we may better comprehend these different theories and then determine the consequences of the modifications to these theories. Illustration. To better understand the ideas of consumer behavior theory, let us look at one example situation, buying a smartphone. Let us say you want to buy a new smartphone. There are multiple steps in your decision-making process that reflect the main ideas of consumer behavior theory. Problem recognition. You realize that your current smartphone is outdated. The decision-making process begins with the realization of a problem. Information lookup. You begin looking into the various smartphones that are available. You visit stores to see the devices in person, read online reviews, compare features, and get recommendations from friends. Your desire to make an informed choice is what motivated you to conduct this information search. Assessment of potential solutions. You reduce the number of brands and models that appear to fit your needs by doing some research. To assess the options, you compare their features, costs, and client testimonials. Purchasing choice. After careful consideration, you decide to purchase a specific smartphone model. A promotional offer or discount, in addition to other factors like price and features, can have an impact on your decision. Following purchase assessment. You evaluate whether your new smartphone lives up to your expectations after you have had it for a while. You experience satisfaction if the gadget meets your needs and operates effectively. In the event that there are problems, you may feel dissonance after the purchase and wonder if you made the right decision. The above illustration demonstrates how the theory of consumer behavior offers a structure for understanding the complex processes involved in decision-making and the different elements influencing individual choices made in the marketplace. Let us now discuss about the key elements of consumer theory. Utility and preferences. Utility. An essential idea in consumer theory is utility. It stands for the contentment or well-being that customers experience because of using products and services. Economists sometimes use the idea of utils as a unit of measurement to describe utility, in spite of the fact that utils are not actually quantifiable. Gaining an understanding of utility is crucial to being aware of the reasons underlying customer decisions and choices. As an illustration, let us say someone is offered an option between a bowl of fruit salad and a slice of chocolate cake for dessert. They select chocolate cake, suggesting that they find it more useful than the fruit salad. Preferences. Consumers select the goods and services they want according to their preferences. Utility functions, which show how a person's utility relies on the amounts of various items consumed, reflect these preferences. Consumer indifference curves are a result of the subjectivity and individual variation of preferences. For instance, a customer would like to eat less salad and more pizza. Higher utility for more pizza eating and lower utility for more salad consumption would be expressed by their utility functions. Key takeaways. The foundation of consumer theory is the idea that we can learn about people's preferences from the decisions they make. Utility is a measure of the one's level of satisfaction, not usefulness, but rather the flow of happiness that one experiences. Utility has no inherent units. Any growing transformation is appropriate. Budget constraints, income and prices. Budget constraints are a fundamental component of consumer theory. These limitations result from the cost of products and services as well as the restricted income that people have. The customer must decide how best to spend their income in order to maximize the utility while staying within their budget. For example, a student who receives rupees 500 monthly stipend must choose how to divide that money between entertainment and textbooks. If a movie ticket costs rupees 10 and textbooks cost rupees 50, the student's options are limited by his financial situation. The budget constraint equation is as follows. 10 multiplied by movie ticket plus 50 multiplied by textbook less than is equal to 500. This equation represents all possible combinations of quantities of movie tickets and textbooks that can be purchased with your monthly income. Budget constraints show you the trade-offs you have to make when dividing your limited income among different goods based on their pricing. It assists you in visualizing the realistic product combination that within your financial limits you can buy. By altering the quantity of each product, you may investigate several options for consumption that fit into your budget. Budget line. A budget line is a graphical representation of a budget constraint. It shows various combinations of goods and services that a consumer can afford given their income and the prices of goods. For example, using the earlier example, the student's budget line will display the many items they may buy with their rupees 500 monthly allowance, including textbook and movie tickets. Consumer choice, consumer equilibrium. The point at which a consumer, given their financial constraints, maximizes their utility is known as consumer equilibrium. The principle of equal marginal utility explains that this occurs when the marginal utility of the final dollar spent on each good is equal. When the marginal utility of $1 spent on pizza and $1 spent on a salad is equal, a consumer is said to be in equilibrium. Marginal utility. A good's marginal utility is the extra enjoyment you get from using one more unit of it. It is an essential idea in consumer theory since customers base their decisions on how useful a thing is in relation to its cost. An example of this would be a rational customer choosing to eat the next piece of pizza if its marginal value exceeds its cost. Indifference curves. Graphical representations of combinations of products and services that produce the same amount of utility and leave the customer undecided between them are known as indifference curve. These curves aid in our comprehension of how customers compromise on some items to maximize their usefulness. An example of an indifference curve might display combinations of salad and pizza that make a customer feel the same amount of satisfaction. Properties of indifference curves. Indifference curves exhibit several important properties, including being downward sloping, convex to the origin, and never intersecting. These properties help us analyze consumer preferences and choices. For example, an intersection of two indifference curve is impossible, as this would indicate that consumers found two distinct bundles equally desirable, which runs against the basic tenet of rationality. Marginal rate of substitution, MRS. MRS and indifference curves. The rate at which a consumer is willing to switch from one good to another while staying on the same indifference curve is known as the marginal rate of substitution, or MRS. It shows how much a consumer prefers one thing over another. For instance, the MRS of salad for pizza is 2 if a customer is prepared to forego 2 pieces of pizza in exchange for 1 dish of salad and yet feel fulfilled. Diminishing MRS. In consumer theory, the idea of declining marginal revenue is crucial. It implies that the MRS falls as a customer advances along an indifference curve. This characteristic is connected to indifference curve convexity. Example, the MRS of salad for pizza declines when a customer consumes more pizza and less salad along an indifference curve, demonstrating that the consumer values salad less as they have more of it. Income and substitution effects. Income effect. The income effect occurs when a consumer's actual income is impacted by a change in the price of a good, which in turn affects the consumer's consumption of the good. It illustrates how price adjustments impact a customer's capacity to purchase things. For instance, if the price of pizza drops, consumers will effectively experience an increase in their real purchasing power. This is because they can now purchase the same quantity of pizza for less money than before. Substitution effect. The substitution effect occurs when consumers switch to a comparatively less expensive good as a result of a change in the price of one good. It illustrates how price fluctuations affect the products that consumers choose to buy. For instance, if pizza prices rise, people could switch to salads as they are now comparatively less expensive. The substitution effect suggests that as the price of pizza increases, consumers may seek alternative goods that have become relatively more attractive or affordable. In this case, salads could be perceived as a substitute for pizza. Giffen and Veblen goods. Giffen goods. Giffen products represents a distinct class of items, the demand for which rises in tandem with their price. This contradictory behavior is usually linked to products that are seen as inferior and account for a large portion of a consumer's money. For instance, some economics believe that in some circumstances, basic items like bread or rice may act as Giffen products, increasing demand when their prices rise because income benefits outweigh substitution effects. Veblen goods. A class of luxury products known as Veblen goods demonstrates a positive price-demand relationship and an upward sloping demand curve. When the price of a Veblen good rises or falls, so does the demand for it. In general, a Veblen good is seen as a premium, upscale item and a status symbol. Customers with higher social and economic status find the Veblen item more appealing as its price increases because of its status signal. Luxury automobiles, fine jewelry, watches, purses, wines, and even trainers are a few typical examples of Veblen items. Consumer surplus. The difference between what a customer actually pays and what they are willing to pay based on their marginal utility for a good or service is known as consumer surplus. It stands for the extra gratification that comes from spending less than one's maximum willingness to pay. A rational choice. According to consumer theory, people make logical decisions based on their preferences and financial constraints in order to maximize their level of satisfaction. It is implied by a rational choice that consumers act in their own best interest when making decisions. Economic analysis of consumer theory. Consumer theory and the decisions consumers make about their financial constraints and preferences have a significant impact on the overall economy in several ways. Aggregate demand. Consumers' collective purchasing choices influence the economy's aggregate demand. Consumers who are willing and able to spend money, which increases demand for products and services, fuel economic growth. On the other hand, if consumers cut back on their spending, there may be less demand, which could cause the economy to slow down. Employment and production. The products and services that are in demand are determined by consumer choices. In response to consumer preferences, businesses create products and services that have a higher likelihood of being bought. Demand growth can result in higher production levels, which can then increase jobs across the economy. Making investment decisions. Companies base their investment choices on their projections of future consumer demand. Businesses may decide to invest in increasing production capacity if consumers are expected to be more optimistic and spend more money. Conversely, a decline in customer confidence could force companies to reduce their investment plans. Inflation and deflation. prices in the economy are impacted by consumer behavior, leading to inflation and deflation. Demand from customers exceeding supply may cause prices to rise and cause inflation. On the other hand, a decline in consumer spending might accelerate deflationary pressures. In order to preserve price stability, central banks frequently keep an eye on consumer behavior and modify monetary policy. Growth of the retail and service sectors. Customers' decisions have a direct impact on the retail and service sectors of the economy. Growth in these industries results from a strong consumer market, which boosts employment and promotes economic expansion. Government fiscal policy. Taxation and spending policies are two common tools used by governments to influence public opinion. Tax reductions, for instance, can raise disposable income and encourage spending, but changes in government spending can affect the economy's total demand. International trade. A nation's trade balance may be impacted by consumer preferences for products and services that are imported. Trade deficits could result from consumer preferences for goods made in other nations. On the other hand, a trade surplus may result from high demand for domestic products. Economic growth or contraction. The overall economic trajectory can be influenced by the cumulative effect of consumer choices made across the entire economy. Spending habits and consumer confidence are closely watched as leading indicators of the state of the economy. Business profitability. The demand from customers affects a company's profitability. Businesses that understand and adjust to changing consumer preferences will benefit, while those that fall short of expectations may encounter difficulties. Conclusion. In the end, it can be concluded that a fundamental framework for comprehending how people choose what to purchase and consume is provided by consumer theory. It is essential to economics, law, and many other fields because it sheds light on consumer behavior and how it affects public policy, market dynamics, and legal frameworks. One major factor influencing economic activity is consumer behavior. Policy makers frequently use this knowledge to enact policies that can influence and promote economic growth. A thorough understanding of consumer decision-making processes offers insightful information about economic trends. We have examined the fundamental ideas of consumer theory in this in-depth analysis with the goal of giving law and economics undergraduate students a thorough understanding of this important topic. That's all for today's lecture. I hope this has raised your concerns about this important topic. Have a nice time. Goodbye.